Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Got my 2025 quarterbacks ranking show 2.0 for you here today. I did the show back at the end of May. Here we are mid-September. We are through week 3 of college football and it was time for an update. There's some guys that are rising up the boards. There's guys that are falling on the board. There's guys that have disappeared from the board and maybe one or two that have appeared on the board. So again, thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you are a watcher from the past, welcome back. If you love NFL draft content, please hit that subscribe button. We get started early on this YouTube channel. It is never too early in my mind to start scouting players. That's what we do on this channel. We're always looking to the future of NFL draft classes, especially from a fantasy standpoint. So if you're always looking, if you play Dynasty and you're looking for a YouTube channel out there that's going to give you an early look at who you're going to be drafting in your rookie drafts, please hit that subscribe button. Help me subscribe to the channel, or help me grow the channel rather. All right, I'm going to be doing this show every month until the 2025 NFL draft, updating the quarterback board. All right, I'm going to be also updating my running back, wide receiver, and tight end board, as well as my top 30 overall rookie board as well. So again, hit that subscribe button. Help me grow the channel. I appreciate you tuning in. All right, let's get to it. The first question is, what does this 2025 quarterback class look like? Last year, we had 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. I was not a believer we had 6 quarterbacks. And after 2 weeks of the NFL, there's some guys that are really, really struggling right now. I wish they'd let all these rookie quarterbacks just sit on the bench for a while, but that's just not where we are, except for Drake May, which he was my QB1 last year. And I'm very glad that he is sitting on the bench and learning. I think that is going to do him well in the future. But what is the 2025 draft class like? Well, in this tier show that I've got for you today, guys, I'm going to give you my tiers and where I think what rounds these players are going to be drafted in. I think we have the potential to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Again, the NFL is so thirsty for quarterbacks that they are taking early shots, just like Bo Nix. I did not think Bo Nix was a first-round draft pick after watching his film. Great player, gritty guy. And the fact that they're throwing him out there so early is just, I think, malpractice. I know. But in any case, that is a story for another day. But for the 2025 class, I think we're going to get 4 or 5 guys that I think are going to go probably early to mid. Now, do we have a Caleb Williams in the 2025 draft, a guy like at the top who's already at the top? I don't think so. I think this is going to be a horse race, and I think guys are going to be, basically changing pole positions as we go through the college football season. And we'll see who ends up at the top. But I have a pretty good idea of what my board looks like, and that's what this show is all about. All right, so let's get right to the content, everybody. Again, thank you for tuning in. All right, my number 1 quarterback right now after week 3 of college football, I have 2 guys that are kind of 1A and 1B. And my first guy I want to talk about is Jaylen Miler from Alabama, 6'2", 220-pound quarterback. Now, right after this show, you should go. I've also dropped a film breakdown of his game versus Wisconsin, his week 3 performance against Wisconsin. And I break down why exactly I like Jaylen Miler. First and foremost, the NFL wants dual threat quarterbacks. They want athletes. They want explosive players. And there's no more an explosive guy with the ball in his hands in this draft class, as far as with the big arm and the ability to extend plays with his legs and get you those big yardage chunk plays that we saw during his Wisconsin game. Okay. Now, going into the summer scouting process, right, the one thing that we didn't see last year was his ball placement really in the intermediate and short areas of the field. We knew he had the long ball. He made some really nice long ball passes last year. And this year, too, he is showing off that big arm talent. He's also showing off his ability to get big chunk plays with his legs. And from a dynasty standpoint, we love that, right? We love Jayden Daniels, right, because of his rushing ability and his ability to get those rushing touchdowns. Well, Jaylen Miler right now, my friends, I think he is the clear best dual threat quarterback in the class. That is my opinion right now. So through 3 games here at through week 3 of college football, he's a 66% completion percentage, yards per attempt 11 with 8 TDs and 0 interceptions. And he has a ton of rushing yards and TDs as well. All right. Now, remember, last year, Anthony Richardson was drafted in the first round from Florida, right? And what did the NFL like about him? His traits, right? He's big, he's athletic, big arm, can run around, right? So if Anthony Richardson, with that passing profile that he went to in the NFL draft, I think Jaylen Milroe is a much better passer than Anthony Richardson. And I think this guy is a lock for an early round 1 selection based on his traits, based on his big arm and his legs. But even more than that, I've watched a lot of interviews with Jaylen Milroe. This dude is a humble dude who is a great person who is willing to learn. And I think his leadership ability is going to be fantastic. And the one thing I liked on his Wisconsin film that I liked a lot was him going through his progressions. Now, for me personally, if you watching any of my rookie reports over the last few years of these players that I've talked about, quarterbacks, running backs, whatever, wide receivers, intangibles matter. And I think this guy has it. All right. And we're going to talk about a player here shortly that I don't like his intangibles, and that's why he's not higher on my board. Jaylen Milroe is an all-around good quality quarterback. Again, he's been in Alabama for 4 years. He really only has played 2 years. This is his real second year of getting the full season of experience, and I'm expecting him to trend upward. So right now, I've got Jaylen Milroe as my number 1 quarterback. I think he is got all the traits that the NFL is looking for a quarterback. All right, he can throw the ball, but he also can run around the field and extend plays, make plays off script, and the NFL just absolutely loves players like that. All right, second guy, big riser on my board, all right, is Cameron Ward, 6'2", 223 pounds. Now he's been this is his 5th season. He started off at Incarnate Ward, and then he went to Washington State for 2 years, and then he was transferred to Miami on the big stage through 3 games, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. Hasn't played the best competition, but he is also flashing the traits kind of very similar to what, I just described with Jaylen Milroe, right? It's big arm. He's got the ability to extend plays. He also goes through his progressions. I've not watched his game against Ball State this past week, but I'm going to do a film breakdown, just like I posted for Jaylen Milroe on the YouTube channel, to really get an idea of what his week 3 performance looked like. But week 2 and week 1, he was very solid. And again, we've got to compare these guys to what's available for the NFL draft, right? And again, he's got the size, he's got the mobility, and he is a quick learner. And again, I watch a ton of videos on these guys, and again, he looks like a super humble kid who just wants to be the great player that he can be. And I know his teammates all rally around his ability. So I'm really excited about Cameron Ward. Again, I think he's gonna be getting some much better competition here. Again, but if we're looking for traits, I think the NFL, they basically, draft for traits. All right. And Cameron Ward and Jaylen Milroe right now, out of all the quarterbacks available in the 2025 NFL draft, I think these two give franchises the best chance to win with their big arms and their legs and their ability to maneuver in the pocket. So I got Cameron Ward as my number 2 again, and these are my tier 1 prospects. These are round 1 guys. Now, Cameron Ward may be the first pick in the NFL draft. Maybe Jaylen Milroe is the second. Either way, I think these two are top 15 quarterback locks right now, unless their seasons go off the rails. And I think, Jaylen Milroe, going back to him, he's a 4-year player at Alabama. I think he does have 1 year of eligibility left, but I'm not sure Cameron Ward does. He is in his 5th season right now. I'm not 100% sure on that. But listen, man, this guy is not, I think, going to come back to Miami again if he's getting the word from the NFL draft community like, yeah, dude, you're a 1st-round draft pick. He's going to go to the NFL and take his shot. All right. Coming in number 3, also a tier 1 prospect for me. Now, when I did this show back in May, Carson Beck from Georgia was my tier 1 prospect, okay? Because Jaylen Milroe showed the inconsistencies throwing the ball. Washington State, where Cameron Ward was before, had some good games, had some bad games. But right now through the season, I think both of those players are ascending. And Carson Beck, through 3 weeks of college football, has thrown for 7 TDs and 0 interceptions. He's played Clemson and Kentucky. This past game against Kentucky kind of just showed the warts that he has. He's just not an explosive quarterback, right? He's kind of like the, maybe like a Daniel Jones type who has the ability to move around. Don't want to compare him to Daniel Jones, where I feel like that's where his career is going to go. But Matt Ryan, let's say, okay, a guy who is, can get you yards with his legs, but he, for the most part, has got good maneuverability in the pocket. But for the most part, he's going to stand back there and try and pick apart a defense, okay? Carson Beck, 6'4", 220 pounds. He's got the size, okay? He just needs more experience. Last year, again, was his, first year really throwing the ball. In 2023, 22 TDs, 6 interceptions. He's 7 TDs and 0 interceptions. I want to see out of Carson Beck. I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think he brings, unless he really just starts putting the ball placement and extending plays with his legs and really being able to elevate that Georgia team and win games for Georgia by putting him on his back. And I think he's more of like a game manager, which, isn't, I know people like frown upon a game manager when they describe a quarterback, but if he's a really good game manager, you let the weapons around you do all the explosiveness within the offense, but you're just pinpointing the ball where it needs to be with anticipation and all that. That's where Carson Beck has kind of thrived. And I think that's his profile for an NFL quarterback, is a guy who isn't going to be as mobile as the other guys that we previously just talked about with Ward and Milroe, but he's going to have to be a really good passer with a really good completion percentage and have a really good anticipation passing profile on his scouting report. That if he has that, he is going to be a round 1 player. Now, there's going to be a franchise out there that might look at him and be like, yeah, I just want the safe guy who can, toss the ball around the field. And, we saw like CJ Stroud play last night. He can extend with his legs, but he's going to go back there and spend time in the pocket trying to throw passes. That's the Carson Beck profile. I just want to see a little bit more explosion from his game against really good competition and elevate his team by putting him on his back. Okay. Number 4, Quinn Ewers. All right. Now I had Quinn Ewers, I think about the same area, round 1 quarterback last year, or in my last episode of this show. Unfortunately, he got an abdomen injury, so now we've got this big thing about Quinn Ewers. I did an all-22 film breakdown with a guy named Ryland, who I really like his scouting ability for quarterbacks, all right? And that's a part of my dashboard subscription. I cut up all 22 films, and we just watched his game against Michigan, his week 2 game against Michigan, and he is still very inconsistent. He was 24 of 36. Now, if you were a subscriber to my dashboard, you would have access to this all-22 film where we broke down every throw that he made, and he's still wildly inconsistent. Now, with that said, he threw some really nice passes to Bond and Matthew Golden in that game, showing the layering of passes down the intermediate part of the field. But he's had ball placement consistency issues pretty much his entire career. And through his first 3 games, 8 TDs, 2 interceptions, PFF grades okay. Quinn Ewers is not going to give you much with his legs. Okay, he's not going to have much of a rushing profile. Now, Carson Beck isn't a rusher either, but Carson Beck has showed on film through 3 weeks of college football that he has the ability to, move and extend plays with his legs and move the chains, and if things break down, to be able to go. And Quinn Ewers has shown that too. So both of these players are not going to be, the Wards and the Milroes and those profiles. But nonetheless, for Quinn Ewers to be an NFL quarterback, to take an NFL franchise to the next level and to the playoffs, if you're not going to be able to really make a lot of plays off script, now he did show that in the, rolling out, throwing on the run and stuff like that. I'm just talking about extending plays. He's just not an explosive quarterback. You have to have fantastic ball placement, I think, but he's still a round 1 guy for me. Even now I'm talking about his inconsistencies. I mean, the NFL, like I said, they're starving for quarterbacks. And Quinn Ewers, again, he is a true junior this year. He has the ability to go back. Now, he got banged up this week. He has an abdomen strain, left the game against UTSA this week 3 game. And then we all know that, the Manning kid, Arch Manning, came in and threw for 5 touchdowns. So there could be at Texas a big-time quarterback controversy. There is a chance that Quinn Ewers comes back and transfers if he does it. Let's say his abdomen injury needs surgery. Maybe it's a hernia or whatever it is, and he doesn't play the rest of the year. Then he's going to go to 2026. But I don't know, man. He's now Texas fans right now are going berserk over Arch Manning, man, and that performance. I mean, that guy was running down the field, and he actually might give Texas a better chance of winning a national championship. I think they're the best team in college football right now. So we're gonna have to see with Quinn Ewers, but he's still a round one guy for me as of this recording after week 3. He just has to continue to improve his passing and ball placement consistency for me to get like super, super excited about him. All right. Now, the last tier 1 quarterback I want to talk about, and some people may be surprised, I got Shador Sanders, 6'2", 215 pounds through 3 weeks of college football, 9 TDs and 2 picks, 70% completion percentage. There is no doubt that this guy has the ability to place the ball all over the field, has some issues with his mobility and pocket awareness, but for overall, I think the guy can play the ball, the game at a high level. I'm just not a big fan of the off the field mental stuff, right? I'm a guy that has always preached intangibles matter. I want for a franchise a guy that's humble. I want a guy that's going to be a team guy. And Shador Sanders, let's not kid ourselves, man. This kid has just been brought up different, right? So, for a franchise to take a shot, no matter how good I'm going to take that back. Some teams are just not going to care about the intangibles. They're going to just see the field, the play on the field, and they're going to be so desperate. They're going to take this kid and hope that he is a team guy. But, I have always said, if you're going to draft Shador Sanders, you're going to draft Dion as well. And I'm not sure right or wrong, and you may not agree with this take, and that's fine. But I don't know if I want all the headaches that may come with Shador Sanders as a quarterback. And as a result, I still think he's going to be a first-round guy. I just think he might drop down the field of the top 5 guys here, because this rounds out my tier 1, right? These are the top 5 guys. These are the only guys right now that I believe have a shot to be a round 1 drafted quarterback. All right. So listen, the kid can play. He's got some flaws in his game, just like the majority of the players that we're talking about here today. But those intangibles scare me. I mean, not shaking hands, coming off the field with other players. And, you have to ask yourself, if you're an NFL owner or franchise owner, GM, whatever, can you lead a group of men with the personality of your quarterback? That's what you need. You need a guy who is going to walk into a locker room as a rookie, first-round draft pick and try and command the room, right? Can Shador Sanders do that? I don't know. I have my doubts. So that's why I have him here at number 5. Still a tier 1 guy, but I'd take these other 3 or other 4 players, I think, before Shador Sanders, unless something kind of changes. But I don't know. For the last year and a half, just haven't liked what I've seen off the field. Now, that could be a take that some people don't like, and I respect that. But for me, I've always been about intangibles, because the mental processing in between the ears is what makes or breaks a quarterback, not the physical traits, not the ability to run around. You've got to be able to pick apart a defense in the pocket. That is the name of the game. All right. So my tier 2 prospects, these are guys in round 2 and 3. We had 0 taken back in 2024. This year's draft, we did not have a day 2 quarterback selected, and we might get 2. And I'm going to just put these guys in here. Jackson Dart, 6'2", 220 pounds. I could see him being a day 2 guy. Started his career at USC as a Devy guy, playing the Devy format, which is like college fantasy football kind of. Super excited when he broke out, and then transfers to Ole Miss, gets a great opportunity, and has played very well through 3 weeks of college football. 8 TDs, 1 interception, 83% completion percentage, 83%. All right, now there's a lot of people. The reason I don't have him higher with those stats, this guy's tough. He can run around. He can extend plays with his legs as well. It's just I'm concerned about Lane Kiffin's system, if that lends itself to the mental processing of not just going to your first read and him making it really easy for the quarterback to be successful, right? We saw Matt Corral, a player that was just as successful as Jackson Dart, didn't make it in the NFL, drafted by the Carolina Panthers, I believe. So Jackson Dart, again, like his game, has the ability to throw the ball deep, has a big arm, has the mobility, tough player, really, fights for every yard when he's rushing with the ball. So he really improved his off-script ability, I thought, in 2023, and have seen that as well. And he's got a great cast of receivers to really elevate his game. But right now, I don't see him as a day one. But as we go through this month to month, you never know. As he continues to play, he's played Furman, Middle Tennessee, and Wake Forest. So, I mean, he's been beaten up on this competition. No disrespect to those teams, but I want to see some SEC competition games where he's, going through his progressions, going through the reads. And again, on my dashboard, if you would become a subscriber, and by the way, at the end of this video, there'll be, you can send me an email. I'll send you some information for a trial subscription. We do breakdowns of all 22 film of these guys so you can see them for yourself and scout them for yourself. And one thing we look at is he hitting his first read? Is he going through his progressions to, because I think that's important, right? You can't just lock on your first read. That doesn't work in the NFL. Not by a long shot, right? Okay. Number 7 I have on the list, because this is a top 10 list, is Drew Aller, 6'5", 243 pounds. All right, he was on a bye week 3, but through 2 games, 5 TDs, 1 interceptions. My son goes to Penn State, so I'm always watching Penn State games. Last year, he had a 23-1 TD ratio, which is a little misleading. A lot of short passes to the tight ends and backs and stuff like that. He has all the traits the NFL's looking for, right? 6'5", 243 pounds, big kid, right? Big arm, right? Has the abilities. I think he's underrated athleticism where he can run around a little bit too. Again, the ball placement consistency just doesn't show up on the tape, right? And you got to be more consistent. So I am really hoping that through the course of the season at Penn State, now he's a true junior right now, so there is a good chance that he will come back as a, I think he's going to come back for his senior year, even if he plays well. Because if he goes to the NFL draft and they say, hey, man, you're like a late day 2 guy, early day 3, but if you stick around and continue to work on your game, I mean, Bo Nix and Michael Penix this year, both 5-year players, I think the NFL kind of is trending towards that way, right? They want guys that are going to get a little bit more experience in college. Go cut your teeth a little bit more in the college game, because playing with the big boys over here, it's completely different, as we can see through week 2 of the rookie quarterbacks that we're watching play right now. It is a tough transition. It is not easy. So I'm thinking Drew Aller comes back for another season. All right, a guy that's been kind of the talk of the town, a little hot right now. His name's new on this list. He wasn't on the list in May, but he is now. That is Garrett Nus from LSU, 6'2", 205 pounds, through 3 games, 10 TDs, 2 interceptions. Great game against South Carolina. Came back, he threw a pick. Came back from adversity, really kind of showed some ability, staying tough mentally after turning the ball over. But I'll tell you what, I mean, he's been at LSU for 4 years. He had to wait his turn, 2 years behind Jaden Daniels, as we know. Now he's getting his shot. I think too that this guy, he's on my top 10 list for 2025. I think he comes back for another year. He does have another year of eligibility, and I just can't see. He had 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions through his first 3 years, 2021 through 2023. This year, he's 10-2. So this is his first year as a starter. And I just don't think that the NFL, is going to take a shot with a guy that's really played 1 year in college football. He's in a good program, good supporting cast as well. So I don't know. But if he does, I mean, he could be a day 2 guy right now. That's where I have him. I don't think he warrants a round 1 selection unless he just continues to progress and do really good, and he may. So another reason you should be tuning in to these videos each month and subscribing to the channel. All right. So those are my tier 2 guys in day 2. All right. So my tier 3 is round 4 through 5, early day 3 guys. I got my 2 players here that might make some noise. These guys are going to be backups. I don't believe they're going to be starting caliber NFL quarterbacks. And that's Will Howard from Ohio State, 6'5", 242 pounds, played at Kansas State for 4 years. Now he is at, Ohio State. They've got wide receivers for riches, right? So he's going to have a great supporting cast. I just don't see a NFL starting quarterback unless he just tears it up and really shows the ability to, really elevate that team and possibly take them to a national championship. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Will Howard and his game. I need to watch more film. I've watched, a lot of All-22 over the summer from Kansas State, and he was good and bad. I mean, he had 23 TDs and 10 interceptions for 2,600 yards in 2023. But there was nothing overly impressive about his game where I think he is going to lead an NFL franchise. All right. Last guy I want to talk to who's popping real good right now. This is his 6th season in the college football arena, and that is Dillon Gabriel playing out at Oregon this year. 6 TDs and 0 interceptions. Really had a good game against Oregon State week 3 here. I see him as an early day 3 guy. He might just be that great perennial backup quarterback, but I do not see Dillon Gabriel, regardless of what his stats do, being an NFL starting quarterback. Might change again, but that's where I'm feeling now. That's why I'm going to be doing these shows every month until leading up to the NFL draft, because things can change. But as of right now, he's certainly getting that experience. We saw what happened to Bo Nix when he went from Auburn to Oregon and played. He got his draft stock elevated. So perhaps that could have happened with Dillon Gabriel. I just don't think he's got the arm strength and the velocity on his passes to be a starting NFL quarterback. He'll probably get drafted and he'll be a nice backup quarterback, but I don't see him ever really getting a starting gig in 2025, all right, and beyond. So, all right, there you guys got it. I wanted to mention a couple players that dropped off the list from my first show, and that is Connor Wegman, who is struggling mightily. So again, a lot of projection on him. I fell into that trap. I watched his film, wasn't really influenced, really didn't like what I saw. I mean, he only played 8 games through his first 2 years. Now he's all, he's back, and he through his first 3 games here, 3 TDs, 3 interceptions, not looking great. Again, he just needs, I'm sorry, that was the wrong stat. So he's 8 for 8 he had 8 TDs and 2 interceptions back in 2023. 2024, through the first 3 weeks, he didn't play week 3 because he's already nicked up again. This guy always seems to get nicked up. The first 2 weeks were really, really bad. Don't have those stats in front of me, but he's 6'3", 215. There was a lot of projection in the offseason of him being, I was seeing him mocked in the first rounds, which is just malpractice. I mean, the guy needs 2 more years in college, I think, to even sniff an NFL field. He needs way more experience. So I took him off the list. He's a 2026 prospect. Riley Leonard was another quarterback who, went from Duke. Now he's at Notre Dame, 6'4", 212 pounds. Just not really getting it done for me right now. I mean, I'm disappointed. I've got a lot of shares of him in my Devy league. I really liked his 2022 film at Duke. He was 20 TDs, 6 interceptions, ran all over the field. Big kid, big arm. But again, his ball placement and his ability to pass the ball is just not there. And right now, I just don't see him as a 2025 quarterback. So he's off my list altogether. He may go to the draft if he doesn't have eligibility, but I do believe he has 1 more year of eligibility. So I assume he's going to maybe come back. He needs to work on his passing. Great kid, intangibles, runs with the ball really well. I think he had 3 touchdowns this past week at Notre Dame running the ball, and they won like a huge blowout game, but he didn't pass any touchdowns. And that's the name of the game as a quarterback, right? Legs are great. Rushing touchdowns are great, but you got to throw touchdowns. So Leonard and Wegman are off. So there you guys got it, man. That is my my quarterback ranks after week 3, update 2.0. I'll be doing, like I said, this show each and every month. I'm going to get started on my running back 2.0 show is already out. I'm now starting on my wide receiver 2.0 show. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy this content, very much appreciate it. Leave me a comment. What do you think about my ranks? Who do you think I'm low on or high on, or do you think I'm out of my mind? Go ahead and tell me. It won't hurt my feelings. Don't worry about it. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks.